What's going on, guys? Balkan Architect here, and in today's video we're going to be modeling an interesting window family in Revit. Now this is going to be a part of my beginner to pro series, which basically means that inside of this tutorial I'm going to be covering the topic of creating a window family, but I'm not just going to be covering how to create a simple window family, but also I'm going to be showing you how to take that on a next level and add some interesting things inside of that family and make it a little bit more complicated and a little bit closer to that pro level. Now, if you would like to check out the rest of my videos in the beginner to pro series, you can check out the playlist by following the link in the card above. Also, if you would like to learn more about families in Revit, I have an entire course on the family editor, which is the environment inside of Revit that allows you to create families, and that's on my website balkanarchitect.com. I'm going to link that up in the description of this video below, the first link, and then also up in the cards above. There you can find all of my Revit courses. That's where I take the time to go slowly, step by step, and explain all of these complex Revit concepts and topics in depth, and I cover numerous topics for beginners, intermediate, as well as advanced level users. Also there you can find some of my Revit, customized Revit templates. You can find some really high quality Revit families, as well as a plugin. Before we start with the video, I would like to ask you to like this video. It helps me out a lot, and also make sure to subscribe. Not only does it help you not miss any of my future videos, but it makes the alpaca happy. And come on, guys, let's make the alpaca happy. Okay, now without any further ado, let's jump straight into Revit. And as you can see, here I am at my home screen. So to create a window family, obviously we want to go to families and then go to new. And this is going to bring up the dialog where we want to pick out the correct family template. Now for this template, if I scroll all the way down here, you'll see that I have metric window, curtain wall, I have a metric window with trim, and then I have just a regular metric window. Now I'm going to be using the last one. The difference is that this one is kind of an empty family. This one already has some trim. This trim is very basic and I don't like it, so I don't use that because, well, I don't find it necessary. I would delete it if I used it, so why not just go with the regular one? And then we have the curtain wall, and that's basically to create a window that is hosted as a curtain wall panel. Now this is just going to be hosted on a regular wall, so let's just go with the regular window family and let's hit open. Okay, so as soon as this opens up, it's going to look like this. You already get something to kind of get you started. You have the width of the opening. If I open up perhaps the interior side, you'll see that here we have a height parameter as well. We have that opening inside of the wall. I can open up the 3D view, and as you can see, we already have something to kind of get us started. So the next step is going to be to widen the opening, which is something that I like to do. Just because the width of the window, I like that to report kind of the width of the panel itself, or a little bit outside of the panel itself, and then we have kind of the frame, and then we have the wall. So usually you don't measure from wall to wall or from kind of concrete to concrete. You measure from the frame to the inside of the frame on the other side. So we just want to make this a little bit wider, so this width parameter will give us the inside width. So you do that here on the interior or exterior side. You just want an elevation where you're kind of looking at the window head on, and then you want to go here to the work plane panel, and then go to set the datum panel, and then go to reference plane, and then you just want to add additional reference planes kind of on the outside of this window, just like so. See? Now once you have done this, you want to add a parameter that's going to control the offset from the original opening or the original reference planes. So you can do this by using the align dimension tool. So you just go from the main one to the new one and you place it. Again, here from the main one to the new one and place it. Same thing goes here, place it, and then we can do the same thing here and place it. Okay, so once we have this in place, then you want to hold the control key, so you get that little plus icon next to your cursor, and then you just want to select all 4 of these dimensions, and you want to go to the label dimension, go to create parameter, and we're going to be now creating a parameter that's going to control this offset value. We're going to name it offset, obviously, and then we can have it as a type parameter. Click OK, and it's just going to kind of find the default value. I guess it picked out 61. I think that was the smallest one, but I obviously don't want it to be this large. The thickness of the frame is going to be perhaps 3 centimeters. So if I open up the family types here, I can actually change that parameter, and as I said, I want it to be something like 30 millimeters or 3 centimeters. This is going to work perfectly fine. Hit apply, and as you can see, that's going to change that and bring it towards the inside a little bit. Once we have this, now we can widen that opening, because we have kind of those reference planes acting in as the skeleton of this family. So we can now just select that opening. So just hover over this. So you just want to hover over the opening, not the wall, but the opening. See how it only highlights the inner window, not the whole thing. So select that. It's going to say opening cut, and then you just go here to edit sketch, and you just move it to the outside, and then you snap it to the new one, and it's going to allow you to lock it in place. And then you just do the same thing with the rest of them. So you just move it away, move it back into the new one, and you lock it in place. Okay, so once we have this done, if I hit finish now, we have that little larger opening. So once we have covered this, now it's time to move to creating the frame. So to create the frame, you want to go to the Create tab, then we're going to go to the Forms, and for this we're going to be using a sweep. So whenever you're creating frames for doors, windows, pretty much anything, you want to go with the sweep, because that's going to allow you to set up the profile, which is going to be following the opening of that window, door, or whatever. So let's go here to the sweep, and then I'm going to go to sketch path, and then you just want to set the work plane to be that reference plane interior, and then click OK, and then you can just create a rectangle like this following that opening, and you just click, and you can lock that in place on all sides. Now the thing is, when I create my profiles, I like to do that in the reference level view, or in the floor plan view. Here the profile is supposed to be hosted on this green line. See how it's on the top? So I would have to go into some sort of a section view to sketch out that profile, and I don't want that. So to avoid that, you can go back here, you can just select this and then hit delete, and then it's going to go to the kind of closest line that's kind of next to it, which is this one. And this is perfect, because now if I go into the reference level, here it is, and I can sketch out that profile. So it works perfectly. So now I just want to go back here, sketch out a new line just like so, and just lock that in place. And now we have that proper sweep path. Okay, now I'm just going to finish out of that. Then let's go to the reference level here, and now I have this edit sketch option. Now it might not be available, so you just have to click here on this little kind of green cross, and then you have that edit sweep, and now you can create your own custom profile. So let's do that. So I'm just going to kind of sketch it out a little bit, and then we're going to be making some modifications. So perhaps go like this. So this is essentially what I'm shooting for. So here actually I want this to be a little bit more towards the inside, perhaps like that. Yeah, we can go up to 50, that's fine. And then this thickness, I want that to be at perhaps, yeah, we can go even to 30 if we want, yeah. And then we can extend this just a little bit further. No, we can stay at 30. I think that would be okay. Okay, so now we have this in place. Now I'm just going to snap this back in and then lock it here. I'm going to move this away and snap it back in, lock that. So wherever this is kind of on a reference plane, you can just move it away, bring it back, and lock it in place. Now here, for example, we don't have that option. So what do you do in that case? Well, in that case, you have to lock it to something else. So what I'm going to do is just go here to the dimension tool, and then I can go from here, for example, up to there. That's 140. Now that might be a bit too much, so let's bring this in, because I want this to work on smaller walls as well. So let's try this again. 120. Okay, that makes a bit more sense. Okay, so if you're fine with that, then you can just come in here and lock this in place. This is at 10 millimeters from there, so you can just go with another dimension up to here, lock that in place. For example, for this one, again, just a dimension, lock that in place. Don't worry if they're overlapping. These are just used to lock things in place. They're not really there to give you kind of the dimensions. Then we can go from here to here, lock this thing in place, and yeah, we finally just need this one, which we can go from here to here and just lock that one in place as well. So now once you have this, if I just hit finish, go to the 3D view, hit finish again, it's going to look like this. So now we have that frame. Now you can notice that this frame only is on the interior side, and that's exactly what I want to see. I just want this to be on the interior side of the window, and as I said, this is beginner to pro. So the kind of the pro side of this is we're going to have a double frame. So it's going to be one sweep on the inside and one sweep on the outside, and the end result of that is going to give us a frame where we can apply different materials for the inside of the house and then different materials for the outside of the house, or outside of the window, exterior side. So for example, if you want to have a white window on the facade, you can have white on the facade, and then on the inside for the interior you can have like a wood material or something like that. That can just make it a little bit nicer, add a bit more complexity. Okay, so let's move on. Now let's do the outside of the frame. So I'm just going to go back to, let's go then to exterior. Okay, so here on the exterior side, let's go to create, sweep, let's go again to sketch path, set work plane, and then you want to set it to reference plane exterior. That's okay, and then just use a rectangle and come in here and create that rectangle, and then you just want to lock it in place. Again, we have the same issue where we have this reference plane on the top, so let's delete that one, and then let's just redraw that here, lock that in place as well, and now we can just hit finish. There we go, we have the path. We can go back to the reference level. Now it's up here, and that's perfectly fine. We can continue there, and you just want to click there to select it and go to edit profile. Okay, so now for this one, we're just going to create that profile from here, perhaps like that. I don't know, it can go at 30 millimeters, and then it can go up to here, and it can look something like this. Okay, so here, again, once you're happy with the shape, you can just come and lock that in place. So for example, here it can snap to that, so just lock it there. Here it can snap to this, so lock it to there. This one can snap to this, lock that there. This one can snap here, lock that. And then for the rest of them, for example, for this one, actually I want this to be kind of closer to the window, so, or closer to this existing or interior side frame. So what I want to do here is just dimension this in such a way where it's basically locked to that frame, so it basically moves with the frame when the thickness of the wall is changed. And now for this side here, we can just go from here to here, and then for this we can go from there to there. And I think that's it. Did we lock in this one? Yes, we did. Okay, perfect. And then when I hit finish and then finish again, we have that outside of the frame. Now, as I said, I locked this portion of this profile to this frame here. What that will do is now if I select the wall itself and if I change it to a larger wall, for example, that will follow that interior side. If I change the wall to a smaller wall, again, it will follow that. So no matter which change we make, it will still follow that, which I like. And then finally, just to make this profile a bit more interesting, I'm going to go to Edit Sweep, select that profile, go into Edit Profile, and then let's add a fillet arc radius. Yeah, we can go with 15. Just add a 15 radius there and here. I think that's just going to make it look a bit nicer, perhaps, depending on what your taste is, of course. Okay, so now we have the frame. Now we should do the panel itself. So the panel is again frame plus glass. So for the panel, we're just going to go here to the 3D view, and again the panel is going to be modeled as a sweep. Now for the panel, instead of sketching out the sweep like here, like we did, see how we have that path of that sweep. Instead of doing that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually host it directly on this sweep itself. So let me show you how that is done. You want to go here to create, you want to go to sweep, and instead of sketch path, you go to pick path, and make sure to select the vertical edge first, because that's where you're going to be hosting that profile. So it makes sense to go with the vertical edge first. So I'm just going to click here, and as you can see there, we host that profile, and I'm just going all the way around on the interior side of that interior profile. And there we go. So now this is hosted on that exact edge, which is really useful. Okay, now let's go to edit profile. Let's go to reference level. Now for this, again, for this panel itself, it's also going to be out of two parts. One part is going to be on the interior, it's going to have one material, and the other one is going to be on the exterior, and it's going to have a different material. So just keep that in mind. Okay, so now I'm just going to go here to a line, and let's go like that perhaps. And we can just go like this, and that's pretty much it. Let's see how far we are from here. Is going to measure to there. Okay, we have to add a new one. So it's 5 millimeters. Yeah, I think we can make it 10. I don't think it's going to give us any problems. Okay, so let's make this, yeah, let's go with 45 or even 50 in total. Yeah, I think this is fine. Okay, so just go like that, and then bring this back in. So basically just a simple rectangle. We can fill it that if we want. Let's see, this is 10. Yeah, I think we can work with 10. Or perhaps make it 15, just to add a bit more thickness here. Okay, we can work with this, and then you just go and you can log this here. So just log that in, and then the rest we can log with the dimensions. So we can just go like that, log that there, log this one, and then okay, that was the sides, and then let's do this one as well. And there we go. This is all locked in place. We can fill it to the edge if you want to. Let's go with 6, for example, there and here. Okay, and then we can just hit finish. And there we go. So we have the interior side of that frame finished. Now we just want the exterior side of that frame. So for that, let's go to the 3D view. So that is going to be hosted on the outside, and let's host it here on this line. So let's go to create, sweep, pick path, and now just follow this. The first is of course the vertical one, and then just follow that same line all the way around. Okay, there we go, and then we can just hit finish, go to edit profile, and then here I can just go back to reference level, perfect, and then here just sketch that out, which is just going to follow like so. We can make this 20, I guess. Maybe it's a bit too much. Yeah, let's make it 15. Or no. Yeah, 15. Yeah, I think this is better. And then here, of course, we do probably need a small gap just to make it open easier. So let's see. Yeah, I think we can make this at 3 millimeters. That's going to work perfectly fine. And then you can log this in here. And then for the rest of these, again, we have to use dimensions. So let's go from here to here to here. So we can even place 2 dimensions and then log them up simultaneously. And then let's select this one. Here I'm just using the tab key, so just using a tab key a few times and placing this. There we go. And then you just want to fill this arc, for example, so we can do that as well. Let's do 10 here. just to make it look a bit nicer. Okay, there we go. And I think we're done with the frame. Okay, so now the next step is you just want to select this whole frame, and then here for the subcategory, make sure that this is the frame. Let's hit apply. Then the next step is going to be to select the outside of the frame. So these two. So the ones, or sorry, is this the outside or the inside? Okay, this is the outside. So select the ones on the outside and let's add a parameter for their material. So you just go here to associate family parameter on the properties panel, open that up, and then here we can call this one the exterior material. And we can make it a type parameter, click OK, and then we want to select the inside ones. Let's see, there we go. So I'm just holding the control key there, and let's make these the interior. Material. Okay. Click OK, and now we can kind of independently control the interior and the exterior material through our family types, and of course this you can control inside of your project as well, which is really useful. Okay, so having done that, there's just a few more things to set up here. So we have to add the glass, obviously. So for the glass, what I like to do is go back here to the reference plane, or the reference level, and let's go here to create datum reference plane and just place it here where the glass should go, in between these two panels. So you can just extend it like that a little bit, and here you can extend it like so. And then you just want to lock that to this line here in the middle. So you lock it by going to the align tool. See how it highlights that geometry? And then you can just align it with this, and now that reference plane is basically locked in place. Let's call this one the glass host. Okay, so now when I change the thickness of the wall, see how that reference plane will still follow that that edge. See? So that's perfect. Okay, so now what you want to do next is just go to that reference plane, but from either interior or exterior. So let's go to interior, go to create extrusion for the glass, go to rectangle, and then go to set work plane and make sure you set it to that glass host reference plane that we have placed. Click OK, go to the rectangle tool, and then we just make that window panel or a glass panel, lock it in place on all sides. And for the extrusion, because the reference plane is exactly in the middle, I want to extrude it in the front of the reference plane by 2 millimeters and behind the reference plane by 2 millimeters. So I can just type in here extrusion end at 2 and extrusion start at -2 millimeters. Click apply, OK. And now if I go to the 3D view, we have that glass. Now, of course, I want to select, while it's still selected, I want to assign a material. So for this one, you don't have to associate a parameter and then control a material through that, because it's probably just going to be basic glass. So just search here for glass. Here I already have it showing up, okay? And then you can just go here to OK, apply, and now we have glass there. If I go to realistic, yeah, there we go. It's starting to look pretty decent. So for example, what you can do now, as I've shown you how you can control the material of the interior and exterior, let me just demonstrate that here. So for example, if I change the exterior to something like, oops, sorry, let's expand this a little bit. This is way too large. Okay. So if I go here to exterior material, and let's say I want to add something like plastic, some sort of PVC or something. Let's just use some sort of white plastic, whatever, just for demonstration purposes. And then here, let's say I want to have wood on the interior side, so let's find wood here. Okay, here we have some birch wood, so let's load that in, apply that, apply, okay, And now, as you can see, it's white on the outside and then it's wood on the inside. And it looks really, really cool. Also, you can add a handle to this. I'm going to skip that step, but I do cover that in the door tutorial in the Beginner to Pro series. So, as I said, you can find a link to the whole playlist up in the cards above, so you can check it out there. Okay, now we have done all of this. The next step is to go to the reference level, and in a lot of cases you're not going to want to have this representation of that window. You might want to simplify it a little bit. So if you want to simplify it, what you can do is you can come here into your reference level. Let's turn this to hidden line. And then what you can do is you can select all of these items. So pretty much all geometry here. And now what I'm going to do is simply go here. Oops, I have to do this one by one. I keep forgetting this. So unfortunately, you cannot select everything and then do it. You have to select individual ones. So here, go to visibility settings. And then here in the plan view, you can just turn that off. And then if I click OK, there we go. And then it's going to become grayed out a little bit. And if you want to see how that will look like in an actual project, you can go here to the preview visibility and turn that on. And now, as you can see, that's missing. So this is what's usually done for these window families, because usually people don't want them to be to be this complicated in floor plan views. So what you can do is just go one by one and just turn off the plan visibility. Just like so. So just the first one and the last one here in the checkboxes. And let's do this with this one as well. Okay. And then for the glass here, I forgot to add the subcategory. So let's assign a subcategory, which is obviously going to be glass. And then also let's do this. So just uncheck it. So why are we unchecking this? Well, because we want to simplify this. So usually you would just represent this by going to annotate and using symbolic lines. So you would just perhaps create a rectangle like this, lock it in place on all sides there, create another one here, lock it in place on all sides. Oops. Okay. And for these symbolic lines, you can select them by using the tab key and then hold the control key to add these as well. You can say what part of the window they are, and this is just the frame in the cut. So let's add it to that. And then perhaps you can add one more, I don't know, annotate, symbolic lines, rectangle, perhaps something like that. And then we should be able to lock it in place. Let's see, can we lock this here? There we go. So is it all locked? I think it is. Perfect. So you can just create something symbolic like this. Let me just mirror that to the other side. And then make sure to lock it here as well. Okay, it's already locked. Perfect. And then for the glass, you would usually see just a simple symbolic line there as well. And then you can lock that there, here. Let's see. Yeah, it's already all locked in. So now if I go to preview visibility on, it would look something like this. Obviously you don't have to do this. This looks a bit silly, but you get the point. You can just kind of sketch out that framing if you want that. If you don't want that, you can just have the frame visible as is. But anyways, let's turn off the preview visibility and let's go to the 3D view, because there it looks amazing. And now let's just set up the family types, and we're almost done. So this video is going to be 30 minutes long, which is quite long. So let's go here to the properties panel, go to family types. And then you'll see that we don't really have any family types here. So the family types are basically when you open up the family inside of a project, you know how you have the option to set up different sizes? Well, this is it. This is that. So I can create a new one, and let's call this one the window 150 by 100. which is what we have now. Click OK. So this is these dimensions. Then I can create a new one, and I can call it window 150 by 120. Click OK, and then I would just change this to 1200. Hit apply. Then I can go again to new type, and let's say window 150 by 80. Click OK, and then just change this to 800 and hit apply. Okay, and there we go. So now we have a smaller window, and then if I open up the family types, I can just toggle these. So for example, I can go to 120, so it's going to be a little bit wider. Then I can go to 100, and so on. So you can play around with this if you want, if you find that interesting. You can create multiple ones depending on what are kind of the common sizes of windows that you use. And there we go. That's how we create a window family inside of Revit. If you would like to download this window family as well as the rest of my project files for Revit, you can find that on my Patreon page, which is going to be the second link just below this video in the description, and then also up in the cards above. There you can find, as I said, all of my Revit project files. And that's pretty much it for this tutorial. Thank you for watching, guys. Make sure to check out my website, balkanarchitect.com, for more Revit courses. There I have over 120 hours of content, and I'm adding more each week. Make sure to subscribe for more videos, and also I've added a video over there that might interest you as well.